Hey guys, this is Vanessa with Babes in Bookland, and this week I'm going to be starting a new segment which was inspired by Chi Chi. Chi Chi suggested that her and I start, some videos probably either every other week or once a month or however way we want to do it, where we talk about writing. Because the both of us, we do write for fun, and we both aspire to be published in the future. So this segment is going to be on motivation and inspiration, which I feel like every writer struggles with. How do you motivate yourself, and how do you get inspired to write? And I think the first thing that I always like to tell myself, which again, it's really hard for me to take my own advice, but the first thing I always try to do is not to get it discouraged. I feel that if you get discouraged, it prevents you from getting motivated, and if you don't get motivated, you don't write, and if you don't write, you don't get inspired to write something fantastic. Which, again, I think you should always give yourself that inner pep talk that you can't expect to write Harry Potter in your first try. It's just not possible. I mean, J.K. Rowling took 10 years to perfect just the first book. Where I think most of the 10 years was actually trying to establish what she's going to be writing for the entire series. So again, don't get discouraged, and I think another thing is don't ever procrastinate, because procrastination gets you nowhere. You don't write. And if you don't write, you don't get motivated. And if you don't get motivated, you're not inspired to write fantastic, fantastic stories. So again, that's that. My other piece of advice is write when you don't want to write. And I think that's also the hardest thing to do. And again, you don't have to write thousands of words when you don't want to write, but write what you can, whether it's a word, a sentence, a paragraph, a page, 1,000 words to 2,000 words. Just write anything. Anything is just really better than nothing. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, is to motivate yourself to write. But just write something. Anything. Anything is better than nothing. And some of the things that I do to kind of get the idea juice flowing is, for me, I like to listen to music because I find that music is inspiring. And I have like a little mini playlist. I pick songs that kind of go with the flow of my story, whether it's the tone, meaning maybe it's the actual background music, not maybe the words of the actual singer, but maybe the background music goes with the flow and the feeling that I want to get from my actual writing and my story. Like for instance, right now I'm slightly obsessed with "My Hands" by Leona Lewis, and basically that song is about, it's not even just the words, but it's even the background music that just it goes with my story, which is about letting, in the end, you have to pick yourself up and move forward even when bad stuff happens. And I think that was like the whole idea of my story in the book that I'm trying to write. So I constantly listen to that song, even in my car. Sometimes it'll trigger some kind of scene idea, and then I write it down when I'm, obviously not driving anymore, because that would not be safe. And also movies. I feel movies really, really help. Sometimes they'll trigger something. You'll see something similar in a movie that is something that's happening in your book, and it can inspire you to obviously not steal the same idea, but put your own spin on it. And I think that also helps, which also goes hand in hand with stepping out your front door and doing an activity. I remember last year, I went to Busch Gardens, which is the local theme park in my town, and basically it was Halloween time, and they do every year the Howl-O-Scream, which is where they build haunted houses, and the employees all dress up and they try to scare you as you're walking to the different roller coasters and whatnot. And the theme was zombies, and so my friends and I, we did this tour thing where you could jump in front of all the lines without having to wait, which was fantastic. And we got free drinks and stuff. And also at the end of the night, you got to get a picture with, whichever, whether it was the vampires, the male nurses, or whatever, which we really wanted to do with the vampire/male nurses, but it was on the other side of the park, and even though that story is really irrelevant, we ended up going with these three girls who were dressed up as zombies, because that was the whole theme of the Howl-O-Scream of last year, was zombies. And they were three girls dressed up as zombie punk rockish princess girls. And there was this girl who had this really cute blunt haircut, similar to my short hair, but it was much more edgier. and she had this tattoo on her leg, and she looked really cool because she had like the funky like wild makeup and everything, and she looked really good. But she had a real skull tattoo on her leg, and the point of this story is that she actually inspired my main character's best friend, and which I was having a little bit of trouble figuring out, you know, how I wanted her to look, and I ended up making her having a real skull tattoo on her leg, having more of that punk rockish look, even though the main character really doesn't look like her. They're very different, but I wanted to make her quirky and fun and energetic and free-spirited. And so, again, me stepping out of my house, going to Hollow Scream, and doing something non-writing relevant helped me pick out how I wanted my one character's best friend to be like. So, again, doing activities will inspire you to do fun stuff with your writing. And then the next thing is read, 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 which if you see my personal vlog channel and this one, you notice I read a lot of young adult. And it's not that I only read young adult novels. I read all types of books, but I want to write a young adult novel, so I read a lot of young adult. And so when I read those, I get a feel for what's out there in the market, and I pick the things that I enjoy. I don't write things just so that other people will like it. I write it because I like it, but I also want it to fit the genre that I'm writing to. So, you know, again, you need to read. Reading inspires. The next thing is to pick out the favorite things in the stories that you enjoy. For instance, if you love Harry Potter like I do, I like to look at the book and analyze why is it that Harry Potter is so enjoyable to me. And one of the big elements was a sense of family. The Weasley family is just a phenomenal dynamic in the series. And so I realized that I wanted my main character, I mean, obviously she's not going to have as many siblings as the Weasley family, but I wanted that strong family, sibling, parent dynamic. And so again, I tried to incorporate that into my actual story. And you know, you just find different elements in the stories that you enjoy and try to incorporate it into your book in your own in your own way. And I think, let's see, I wrote a list here, so I keep looking to my right, so I do apologize. And I think one of the last things, which is the common thread in all like writing videos on YouTube, is this writer's notebook, which again, if you don't have one and you're a writer, you really should have one. And it doesn't have to be anything special, but I did choose the Moleskine book. But basically, I write down anything that inspires me, whether it's conversations. I have a section on names, like I write down fun, interesting names, whether it be girl, boy, last names, just anything, books to read that people recommend to me to inspire me to write better. Anything and everything I put in here, whether it's subplot ideas, main plot ideas, anything like that. And again, I'm going to wrap it up real quick because I'm already at 8 minutes, and I know YouTube won't allow me to go over 10 minutes. So last but not least, again, motivation comes with believing in yourself. Okay? I mean, don't expect to write the most phenomenal sentence. Write the most generic way of saying something, and then later down the line when you actually have the juices flowing, then you can always come back and at least you know what you're trying to say, and then you can say it in a better way. So versus saying, if you can't think of anything interesting to say, my leg is hurting, just write my leg is hurting, and then down the line highlight it, and then you can always come back and then you can find a way of saying, you know, I walked across the cement and the sharp asphalt, you know, injected into my heel, and it brought this sharp shooting pain up my leg, and then I almost fell and tripped on my love interest. I mean, just you can always find a better way of saying it down the line when you actually have the ideas really flowing. But anyways, those are my ways of motivation and inspiration. Chi-Chi, I would love to hear what inspires you. I hope you guys like our new segment, and I hope you guys have a great week. Happy reading, happy writing to the writers out there, and bye. Have a good day.